Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is our Q&A for July, and we got tons of great questions like, will Nvidia finally be forced by gamers to actually discount the RTX 4000 series? And we'll take a look at GPU prices right now. What can you expect in Prime Day in October possibly, or even Black Friday? Should you buy now, or should you wait for upcoming GPUs to launch from AMD? We'll take a look at memory speed, motherboards, and more. Remember, if you get value out of the video, give it a like because it makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Micro Center, my favorite tech place on earth. Great news! Micro Center just opened its 26th store in Indianapolis, with Charlotte, North Carolina coming in early 2024. And they're home to the Ryzen 5600X 3D, which you can get right now with 16 gigs of RAM and premium ASUS motherboard for just $329. Or check out their July back to school deals like this Ryzen 7700 for just $289 with Starfield, or this Acer Nitro gaming laptop with i7 and RTX 4060 for just $11.99. And new in-store customers get a free 256GB SSD. Right now, click on the link in the video description for store locations and to see their insane deals on PC parts, monitors, and more. Let's start off where else. GPU prices, the GPU market, our prices are going to continue to go down, or they're going to go back up. That's basically what Bobby Birch asked, how far into the year will GPU prices stop going down, or will they never stop going down? Google basically asked the same thing. Do I think they'll continue to fall? Well, let's just take a time out here. So I'm filming this. It's the end of July right now. We just put out our GPU market update. GPU prices are totally insane. And for Prime Day, we saw some pretty big deals on AMD GPUs. So oftentimes when I get this question, I kind of feel like people are like, well, when is Nvidia going to lower their prices? Because AMD has lowered their prices. So let's take, for instance, the RX 6700 XT 12GB card. Basically, AMD, for almost the same price as the RTX 3060, AMD is offering you a card that's substantially faster, same amount of VRAM, but substantially faster, a true 1440p capable card versus the 3060, where, yeah, that can play games in 60 FPS, 1440p, but the 6700 XT makes a mockery of it, destroys it, and they're virtually the same price. One is $280-ish, depending on when you get it, and one's about $300. So really, there's not much separating the two there. So I often get these questions. I wonder, I think they just really focused on Nvidia. And we can talk a little bit about why Nvidia hasn't cut prices. In fact, we have some questions coming up on that in just a second. But let's talk about the overall GPU market. Right now, we're still waiting for like the RX 7700, the 7800. Those are going to be announced, we've heard, in August. This is all rumors still. We went through that in our GPU market update. So check that out. Link in the video description if you want like a deeper dive of where card prices are right now. But let's put on our crystal ball and our tinfoil hat, and let's take a look into the future, right? Into the future. Listen, I don't think on the RX 6000 series of cards, we're going to see much more of a price decrease. I think what we're going to see is eventually those cards just sell out. AMD's not making any more. So if you want a $179 RX 6600, I would pick one up now, for instance. I wouldn't wait to save another $10 or $15 maybe, because those cards will just run out at some point. 3060 is fine. If you want an Nvidia card, the 3060 is $279 or $289, depending on which model of the card you want to get. That's a decent-ish value. It's not fantastic, but it's better than what, those things were selling for like $1,000 on eBay, just about a year and a half ago. So we've come a long, long way. I just want to recognize that. Then we've got the new generation cards, the RTX 4000 series cards. I'll talk more about this in just a second on the Nvidia side, but let's talk about the AMD side. We've already seen those cards come down. Already seen the massively overpriced RX 7900 XT, not the XTX, but the XT, which originally listed for $900. It's come all the way down between $700 and $750. If you get on a sale, you can get it for $700. If you just want to buy it whenever, buy it for about $750. And good, high quality cards too. The coolers are like so intense on these things. These are high quality cards. It's not like you're getting the MSI Ventus model. Sorry, MSI, but your Ventus model is a little cut down out there on some of those RTX 4000 series cards. You definitely buying the budget model when you buy those. Then of course, we've got the 7900 XTX. That's come down as well. You can pick one up right now for $949. You could get them for as cheap as $870 on Prime Day with all the various deals and stuff that were going on. So GPU prices largely have come down, and the question is, will they continue it this way? I don't know. I think we should also remember, of course, that we've got the Starfield bundle deal right now. Tons of people are excited about Starfield. I'm going to list all the best Radeon and Starfield deals down in the video description for you guys. I know they keep changing every day. we'll try and keep that updated for you. So in terms of overall pricing right now, the pricing is very good on the AMD side, and it just totally sucks on the Nvidia side. The 7700 and 7800 are the ones that we're waiting for. Fingers crossed, if AMD prices those things appropriately for the market and they have the right level of performance for that pricing, could be 2 wins there. There could be a knockout blow to Nvidia right now. We got a question I think that's on a lot of people's minds. Pear Electronics asks, what do you think Nvidia will do in response to all the hatred they've been getting from PC builders and gamers? Most of the 40 series have been a total flop. Yeah, you can say that again. And the cards that didn't totally flop were rated meh at best by most reviewers. Okay, this is obviously the question on so many people's minds right now. I would add, I think the 4090 everyone was super excited about because it looked like it portended a lot more performance, and Nvidia wasn't going to massively alter their price structure because that card only came in about $100 over its MSRP. It wasn't, percentage-wise, it wasn't that big of a cost difference between that and the 3090, and it boasted so much more performance. But obviously, as we found out with the 4080, that was not going to be the plan. They were going to charge you through the nose on this thing, and they've continued all the way through to the 4060 Ti 16GB that just launched, $500 GPU, and it performs like a $300 GPU. That card should have been the 4060. We all know that card should have been the 4060, possibly the 4050 Ti, I don't know. But let's talk about what Nvidia is going to do. Here's the thing, guys. Take my hand for a second, listen to me, look me in the eyes here. He's not coming back. Feel like you're in a bad relationship, and I got to talk you down from a bad relationship. You're trying to get somebody back who doesn't care about you. None of these companies really care about you. There is a difference though. Nvidia no longer sees its profit motive motivated by selling GPUs to gamers. They tried to get out of that during the crypto boom. They went to proof of stake. Crypto boom dried up. And then they're like, oh yeah, gamers. Oh, hi AI. How are you? Come over here. And now they're all AI. And they're shifting all of their production, I hear, over to Hopper, which is all the AI stuff. It does not gaming cards. Those are going to be AI GPUs. So just brace yourself. If you want Nvidia to cut its prices, it might cut prices 2 years from now, just like they did with the 3000 series on the 4000 series. I think they are happy to let those cards rot on the shelf because they know that you're going to buy them anyway, and that they can hold out longer than you can because they've got this booming business in AI, and gaming is this shrinking revenue center for them. I actually think Jensen would love to get them away from gaming altogether. Gamers are a hard audience to, individual consumers are a hard audience typically to market to. You'd rather do business to business. They'd rather sign one big contract with Google or Amazon Web Services or Meta or whoever to have to sell each individual GPU out there. And Nvidia really has expressed no remorse. I mean, there's no hint of remorse in anything that they've said out there. When the 4060 Ti was pointed out that, hey, it's only got 8 gigs of VRAM, they're like, oh, it's a 1080p card. But you marketed the 3060 Ti as a 1440p card. So are we going backwards now? And you can't even call it a 1080p card. It's a 720p card because it won't run all games at 1080p. You got to consider what's best for you as a consumer and stop trying to get them back. They're not coming back to you. Not as long as this AI boom goes on. If the AI boom kind of fizzles out, yeah, they'll come back. So just got to do what's best for you. And honestly, consider an Intel GPU, consider AMD GPUs. Again, these are other corporations that don't care about you, but at least they see the future of their business model selling GPUs to you rather than selling them to AI. All right, we got some great questions on motherboard audio, hugely upvoted. We got Majanic, we've got David Jones, Callum, who's a channel member, by the way. Become a channel member today. Click that join button down in the video description. You get a live stream with Mr. Bear here. You get all kinds of cool emojis and stickers. Basically, all these questions revolve around motherboard audio. What in the heck is motherboard audio? When are you using it? When are you not using it? Should you consider it for your next motherboard purchase, especially like the Ryzen 7000 motherboards, where there's a huge gulf in prices between the ones with upgraded audio and not upgraded audio. So let's just kind of solve this once and for all. I will say that in our best motherboard videos, we always go over this in some detail, so you can check those out. But in a nutshell, basically, if you're using a connector that looks like this is an analog connector. You've seen this probably your whole life. You plug into a headphone jack, you plug in either to the front case panel, you plug into the rear of the motherboard. That is going to use the motherboard's audio processing. It's going to take a digital signal, it's going to convert it to analog. That's what it's doing. Analog goes to the speakers, boom, there you go, you got your sound. If I know Mr. Bear likes this, he's like, Dad, all your cables belong to us. If instead you're using a cable like this, a USB cable, or maybe you're using an HDMI cable, maybe you're using Bluetooth, some kind of wireless receiver, then you're basically transferring that digital signal to a separate device. Maybe it's a stereo receiver, maybe it's just your headphones have their own processing in there. That's basically taking the digital signal and it's bypassing the analog conversion on the motherboard, and it's sending it to a separate device. Now your separate device is responsible for your audio quality, not your motherboard anymore. So that's the difference. And if you are using like the front panel jack, for instance, and you have an upgraded audio codec, this will have better signal to noise. Actually, just the whole thing will have better signal to noise. But in particular, there's a boost for the front headphones right here. That's why if you have upgraded audio, use the front panels. It's much better. You want more of this? He's not sure where it went. There you go. So the upgraded audio codecs are like ALC 1200, ALC 1220. Now we also have like ALC 4080. I won't get into all the differences. I'll leave a link to the Igor's Lab article that I often link. It'll explain all the differences if you want to really do a deep dive. But if you're interested in using this kind of headphone right here, right, and you can get some studio quality, nice headphones like this, then you want to get upgraded audio on your motherboard. Ganji asks a great question. What does the future look like for frame generation games? How many more games will there be with frame gen support? This is Nvidia frame generation. What about the 50 series, or is it going to expand back to the 30 series? What's going on with it? The future is really kind of vague for frame generation. It did not get a very good reception. Nvidia is all in on AI right now. There is always in these companies, game development companies, technology companies, repurposing of resources, if you will. So if they have people who are working on frame generation and that's kind of deprioritized because everything is AI right now, they will take some of those folks and they'll push them over here and they'll just push out the timeline for some frame generation stuff. So we'll have to see. Most technologies, when they first come out, they take a while to ramp up, especially if you consider the game development cycle. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for frame generation that not a lot of games support it yet. I think over the next 2 years, we'll probably see a lot more games roll out that support it. Is it going to be anywhere near DLSS? It's hard to say, really hard to say right now, again, given their commitment to AI. Casey Main asked a great question about VRAM. How much is going to be enough now and into the future? He says, basically, 8 gigs isn't enough now. What's next on the chopping block, though? They wouldn't be surprised if in a couple years, 16 gigs isn't enough and anyone starts recommending 32 gigs instead. Oh my gosh, I really hope not. Wondering if I've thought about that. What do I think it's going to go to in the near future? Well, first off, if you missed our best GPU for gaming 2023 video, we actually have a whole VRAM discussion, what I think you should get at every resolution. I'll leave a link to that down in the video description. Let me add some additional thoughts to that. Basically, what's going on here is that we didn't need to leave 8 gigs just yet, in my opinion. But because the PS5 and the consoles, the Xbox Series X and S, because they become such a huge portion of game sales, the optimization for PC has basically fallen down the priority list of all these game developers out there. Now, some of them like Blizzard, for instance, they optimize the living crud out of the game so that they can have the widest possible user base. And then other folks are just, they're not going to do that. And they're just either going to patch it in a future patch or tough. You need to go out and buy a GPU with more than 8 gigs of VRAM, basically is what they're telling you. 8 gigs was never going to last forever. It was just a question of when it was going to become obsolete. When is 12 gigs going to become obsolete? I already think 10 gigs might be getting there. If you want to play 1080p, I think 10 gigs is still fine. You may have to go from ultra to high on some games in the future. 12 gigs, I think you're going to be fine at 1440p as long as you don't want to ray trace. Once you add ray tracing in, you can easily exceed that in a number of titles. That's why even like the 4070 Ti with 12 gigs of VRAM for what, $799, whatever the price of that thing is right now. Yikes. It just feels really hard to buy that card knowing that it's probably going to be obsolete much quicker than the 7900 XT for ray tracing or for 4K. So then how long do I think these are gonna last? Nobody really knows. We know we're getting new consoles in 2026. We know they're gonna have a lot more RAM on them, especially with the price of RAM falling so rapidly, but they're not gonna abandon the Xbox folks. They're not gonna abandon the PS5 folks. The Xbox has 10 gigs it can use for VRAM, and then it's got like another 2.5 gigs, I believe, maybe it's 3, where it's not really optimal to use it, but it can borrow it if necessary. That's why I think 12 gigs, you're going to be good as long as you don't do things you can't do on the console, like ray trace, for instance. As long as you're not into ray tracing, I think you're going to be fine. 12 gigs for 1440p, 16 gigs for 4K. Yeah, that's going to be great. However, I would think that anything you're buying right now, I would look at VRAM as being a premium. Let's jump into a speed round here. I'm totally going to mispronounce this. I'm going to go Smidakushawaha. Does SSD speed matter for gaming? Please tell. We'll check out our best SSD for gaming 2023 video. We go in a deep dive, but basically, no. And people tell you, well, what about Microsoft Direct Storage? We've been hearing that for years and years and years and years. Finally, we got a game that uses Microsoft Direct Storage, Forspoken, a game that not many people bought, but we used to test Microsoft Direct Storage, and guess what? No real difference. No difference in FPS, really. No difference in load times. We're talking like half a second, maybe 1 second. You will never notice that in just a regular gameplay session. So there's absolutely no difference. And that's why I often recommend getting cheaper ones. Now, depending on what you do with your system, you might want to get a slightly upgraded drive with DRAM on it. That's always a possibility. But for gaming, no difference. Savage, another channel member. Remember, join. This guy will be very, very happy if you join as a channel member. He'll get an extra treat if you do. Savage asks, when do you think PSU prices will come back down, or are we just kind of where we're at? I think there's good news. At the higher end of the PSU sphere, because we got this changeover to the ATX 3.0 standard, we also have the new 12-pin high power connector as well for like the Nvidia GPUs. Those new PSUs have come out. They're largely at the higher end. Pricing is not bad. In fact, I continuously recommend the Corsair 750 RME, $99. It's a good price point. So those have all kind of filtered in, and 2 thumbs up. That part of the market's great. Part of the market still sucks is the budget market. You used to be able to get PSU at C tier 1. Remember, C tier better on the PSU cultist list is what we're looking for budget builds. Don't want to go to D tier or below. Those are terrible PSUs. Remember, check out our PSU buying guide for 2022. We're going to update that very soon, but the low end of the market is really where it suffered. So will that fill in? Yeah, I think it's starting to come back. EVGA also kind of going out of the market. Looks like they're kind of wrap up their operations. Who's going to take that space in the market? I don't know, but I hope somebody really does. Next up on the speed run, we got Zach, who asks, would I still suggest DDR5 5600 CL28 over the 6000 CL30 stuff for AM5 with prices dropping? Not just prices dropping, there's a new AGESA that's releasing. AMD's pushing out to BIOSes very, very soon that will massively increase RAM compatibility with Ryzen 7000, all the way supposedly up to 8000 speed. Now, I saw one outlet out there, did some preliminary testing. They got their hands on a new BIOS. Doesn't really impact gaming. Because it has to do with the Infinity Fabric. I don't want to get into that in a short answer. We will do a best RAM for gaming, and we'll talk more about this upcoming when I get my hands on it and have a chance to test it. But the reason I was recommending 5600 like CL30, 5600 CL32, 36 over 6000 speeds because the B650 motherboards, a lot of them were having problems clocking that RAM up. So I would say, yeah, if you're going to update your thing to the latest BIOS before, and it has this AGESA, this new one that just came out, I would say, yeah, you'd probably be fine getting 6000 CL30. But there's really no difference between 5600 CL28, no functional difference, and 6000 CL30. So I would get the 5600 CL28 instead, unless the 6000 CL30 is cheaper, but I haven't seen it that way. So no, I would stick with those recommendations, at least for right now. RxUse247 says, Mr. Bear for president. Well, Mr. Bear hasn't yet decided if he's running for president just yet. He's got an exploratory committee. If you want Mr. Bear to run for president, put it down in the comments. Leave a comment saying Mr. Bear for president, why you think he would make a really, really good cat overlord for us. His primary platform so far is more snuggles, more treats, and nap time all the time. Remember, if you got value out of the video, give it a like. It makes a huge difference in the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Speaking of cool content, check out our Boost My Build series where we take your PC build list, we tear them up, we put them back together and massively increase your performance. I'll put the whole list right here. We just released 2 really good ones. A lot of fun. We give people a little bit of a roast and then we super increase their performance. And we'll catch you on the next one.